Hi all, and welcome to November's instalment of the Cloud Management Community User Group. Tonight we've got Fabian Bader on, who's going to be walking us through some Defender for Endpoint Advanced Threat Hunting. With me this evening is my two co-hosts, Dean and Andy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi Andy. Hi Dean. How are we doing?
Good.
Not bad. Good. So we've got this should be quite fun. I'm looking forward to hearing what Fabian's got to say, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll quickly run through the agenda, and then we've got some pre-talk stuff to go through, and then we've got the quiz at the end. So that's the agenda really. But let's actually put that on the screen for you, which it looks a little like this. So agenda-wise, this is it. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce that third word in the title of your talk, Fabian. Do you want to help us out with that?
The Feodo service?
I would have gone with Feodo, yeah, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot. So, yeah, okay. So you're going to be going through detecting C2 Feodo servers with Defender for Endpoint. And you know there's a thing where there's a common saying that you don't know what you don't know. I do know that I don't know anything about that. So I'm looking forward to your talk to learn more about it. As you can see on the screen there, we're sponsored by Recast Software and PolicyPack, both awesome tools, awesome vendors, providing community tools and tools for sale in the real world as well. So yeah, check them out, and that would be awesome. So before we move on to Fabian's talk, we need to talk about the quiz. If you tuned in to our last session with Donna and Ryan, it got a bit expensive for us. We offered £25 to the winner, and then 4 people won through some hilarious, stupid thing that we did. So we can't let that happen again because we run out of quiz funds. So what we're going to do is just quickly poll you, the community, and our friends to see what you think, but we also want to grab some more feedback from you around the rest of what we're doing here to make sure that we're on the right track. So I'm going to go through that now, if that's all right. So if you are able to, if you could go to menti.com and tap in this thing. Let me just find the slide. It was somewhere. Yeah. So if you go to menti.com and use that code, we would like your feedback, your opinion, and it would be brilliant if you could help us out with some of these questions. So really, we want to know, in your opinion, as a percentage, what is the most important element of these events? So is it the speaker's knowledge of their topic? Is it the quality of the screen share, the content, the resolution, the clarity? Is it the quiz and the prize? Is it the regular schedule every second and fourth Tuesday? Or is it the shorter timing? We've moved from having 2 speakers per event to 1 speaker per event. Does that make it more valuable to you? So please do head over to that and give us some feedback on that. We'll leave this open throughout the event so that you can cast your vote. There are some more questions I want to go through though, so please do jump in now and we can get your feedback. In the meantime, though, I will mention that in order to react to some of the feedback we got from Donna Ryan's session, you know what? You can't even join, can you? Let me just... Can someone try going to menti.com and seeing if they can actually join? Because I wonder if I've locked it now. I wonder if you have to join before we click go.
I've joined.
Ah, very good. Cast your vote then, Simon. Yeah, I'm in as well. Oh, it isn't coming up on my screen. That's interesting.
Works for me.
Yeah, it works, but the results aren't coming up on my screen.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, I see. You have to press submit. Yeah, there's a submit button at the bottom. So once you've made your choices, choose submit. You might have to scroll down if you're on a phone and choose that. The other thing to mention that in order to react to the feedback that we got from the last month's session, we realized that the settings we're using on YouTube to deliver this content were oh, look at that, someone's just voted, were essentially meaning that the latency of our chat was a bit low, which was great, so we could interact with you. But it meant that the quality of the screen share was reduced because YouTube was trying to keep up and deliver the content as quickly as possible to you. So what we've done is switched it to normal latency, which means that there is about a 15 to 30 second delay on the chat. So we will be chatting to you, but with a slight delay. So apologies for that, but we're currently just checking out whether this is whether this will help. So just gonna have a few more moments while we wait for people to vote in, as there is a up to 60 second delay on the chat and on you seeing what we're saying. It would be good if we gave people a little while to actually vote. So yeah, I think the quality of the screen share thing hopefully will be increased through choosing the different setting on YouTube to be more or less latency friendly. But that does mean that for the quiz and the prize, we have had to go back to the non-fastest finger first approach, so that when you do answer, each answer is equal to another correct answer. So it doesn't matter how fast you answer. And that's because we think there's some kind of timing thing where YouTube is buffering for some people and not for others. So it's a little bit unfair to base people's position in the quiz based on the fact that they've answered fastest, when it's not necessarily how fast they actually answer, it's just how fast they saw the question. So we've changed that in order to improve, hopefully, which means that we are going to have to slightly change how we do the prizes. We've discussed around sort of a pool of money that we can use as a fund and share that between the winners, which means if one person wins, then they will get all the money, and if 4 people win, they will share that pool. And that just means that we haven't got spiraling costs like we had last week, because that was sad for us. Good. Okay, so we've got some comments here. So speakers' knowledge of their topic is important, which is good. Yeah, it makes sense. Quality screen share is next. Regular schedule. The shorter timing, less people seem to be less worried about the shorter timing, which kind of makes sense. Because we used to have 2 sessions, and all of the other user groups that I've seen still do have 2 long sessions, and that seems to work. The quiz, though, is less important to everyone, so that's interesting to see. Okay, I'm going to skip over to the next question, I think. So, oh, no, this one. If you can answer this question, please. Which is, which platform would you prefer to see these on? And you can't actually see my screen, so let me just drop these people out of the way. So would you prefer to see these events on Teams, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Zoom, or other? And we've got, it looks like you can choose multiple answers there, so thanks very much. YouTube is winning so far. And remember, we chose YouTube because Teams was quite a closed platform for people, and it meant we didn't have as much flexibility with regards to the delivery mechanism that we were using. And yeah, I think it's worked pretty well personally in my view, but it's good to see other people's feedback. Give it a few more seconds because we had an extra person answering last time, so we'll just see if that helps. I promise you, in a few moments, we'll go over to Fabian for his talk. We did put on the agenda that it was 1:15 though, so we're not over time yet, I promise. Okay, so next up we will skip over to the next question, which, oh, just in time, well done. Which is, how often should we host these events? So should it be weekly, twice every month, once every month, once every 2 months, or never? Just in case you fancy telling us to get lost. It's always an option. We shouldn't put that in there. What is interesting, though, is that it was only about 10 to 15 seconds of me reading the question out before we got the first answer. So hopefully that wasn't one of the people on the restream stream, and it was actually one of our YouTube audience or Twitter audience. Because the 15 seconds is a pretty good delay, given that we're trying to increase the quality of the stream. Okay, so once or twice a month. Okay, there we go. So all of the above. Very good. We'll just do what we like then. We'll just crack on and see how we get on.
Well, what that means, whichever way we do it, we're a winner.
Yeah.
I was going to put another one on there, which said, whenever. Well, because there's a lot of YouTube streamers who just go live whenever they want, and it would be interesting to see what happened if we just surprised the audience and went live with a speaker and said, "Ha, look, we're live. We've got Fabian to talk to you." Another vote for weekly. Very good. I don't think that would work for us. We haven't quite got the audience.
Haven't quite got the numbers for that. No.
Yeah, I think so. Good. All right, we are coming up to 1:15, and I'd like to keep this to time. So we will move over off this screen, and I'll just hand over to Fabian, who is going to talk to us about. Let me just put your screen on there, Fabian, and sort out all of these little buttons I need to do.
Thank you very much, Dean. Yes, hi, I'm Fabian, and as you might hear in my voice, I'm not a native speaker of the English language. I'm from Germany. I hope you still understand me throughout the talk. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I will try to get to those, and the other hosts will make me aware that there are questions because I can't read them while I'm talking here. Yeah, the topic is protect your endpoints from known C2 Feodo servers, and in this title alone there are so much words, not everybody knows what I'm talking about. So I will try to get to this in a minute. And the subtitle is Automated Import of Indicators of Compromise into Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. This is exactly what we are going to do. So we are working with the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint product here, and I will show you how flexible it is and what you can do with it if you go a little bit beyond what is there in the normal product. But let's see. The next slide is who am I? I'm a consultant with Equitas Integration here in Hamburg. I'm the author of the blog cloudbrothers.info, and you will find me on Twitter with Fabian_Bader. Also, I'm the organizer of the Hamburg PowerShell user group. Should you ever want to know anything more about PowerShell, please visit us. We have our next meeting next week, and we try to get to a once-a-month session there. Short agenda, I will just hop over it because I think most of the talking should not be in PowerPoint, but the last point is the most important one. I want to demo all this, what I tell you now, and get to each step in a live demo. So let's pray to the demo gods that everything is working fine. A little bit of introduction for the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint suite. What is it? Normally, you might know the Defender AV on your computer, so the antivirus engine from Microsoft. And with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, this is an advanced and agentless, as long as you are on Windows 10 or Server 2019, addition to the antivirus product. And it's a so-called endpoint detection and response solution. Since last year, Microsoft is marketing it as their extended detection and response solution because they are adding more and more cloud AI stuff in there, and this is where the extended comes from. You might now ask, what does endpoint detection and response solution mean? What is the difference between a normal AV scanner and EDR solution? And that is that an EDR solution not only detects virus and malware, but also detects malicious actors, or tries to detect malicious actors through behavioral analysis or through actions that are taken on the endpoint. So it monitors many signals on the endpoint, like if a file is created or a network connection is opened, stuff like that is then sent to the cloud, and there Microsoft is trying to identify patterns that they have seen or that they can identify as malicious and try to stop the actor before he can move to the next computer or to the next server. And this is especially useful if you have a large Windows environment, but also useful if you have Linux and Mac clients, because those are also supported platforms. So Microsoft is not only implementing those features within their own products, but they are trying to do that for all the endpoints out there, as well as servers. And Microsoft has a few key points that they have in the product. So they have threat and vulnerability management. That means that you will get an overview of which software is deployed on your endpoints and your servers, and which vulnerabilities are in those versions that are out there, where should you patch first, stuff like that. The attack surface reduction is a feature that is native to Windows, and it means you can block some behavior like opening other exe from Outlook or stuff like that, or from an Office application. Then we have the next generation protection. Microsoft markets next generation protection for everything that is behavior-based real-time protection. So in this case, Microsoft is sending the data back to the cloud, and as soon as they detect anything malicious, they try to block it on the endpoint. So this is not only, as I said, files like a virus or a Trojan, but anything from trying to encrypt a file or stuff like that. Endpoint detection and response, it's the mechanism that allows next generation protection to work. So they try to detect what's happening on the client and responds to that. And this is exactly what we are going to do today, because we are using the not the auto investigation part, but the remediation part of that, and try to automate most of those malicious indicators on the endpoint, and also automate alerting for that within the platform. The last part is the Microsoft Threat Experts. That's additional service Microsoft is providing. So if you have any questions, is this really malicious or is there something wrong, you can contact Microsoft, and they're trying to help you figure it out, what's wrong and why this alert you are currently seeing is presented to you. The other project we are talking to today is the Feodo tracker. So the Feodo tracker project is part of the abuse.ch website. They host many different projects related to malware and stuff like that. And the Feodo tracker in particular is tracking command and control servers. So on the first slide, we had this word with the C2, and this refers to command and control servers. Those are servers that get contacted by malicious programs, and they try to get information. What should I do next? So should I encrypt the disk, or should I take a screenshot? Stuff like that. And the bad guys use those command and control servers to control many of their victims. And this project tracks those servers and tries to provide those information back to the community free of cost. And you can even implement this in a commercial product. So the use policy is really open, and you can do mainly whatever you want with this data and use it for your advantage. The Feodo malware family is not only one particular malware, but it's different ones that were evolved from one source, and mostly that's Emoted, Tridex, and Feodo, but also Trickbot and Quackbot. All of this are malicious Trojans that are implemented on your device, and they try to do stuff like online banking, screenshotting, and stuff like that, and try to do fraud in the end and gain money out of it. We are going to use a feature in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint that is called custom detection rules. And the custom detection rule is basically a query you write against the information that is provided through the advanced hunting queries. We will see that in a bit. And you can use the output of every query you write and say, okay, if this happens, if there is something as a result of that query, you will get an alert, or you can do something automated. What are indicators of compromise, you might ask? Indicators of compromise are file hashes, IP addresses, or URLs, and they can be added to the solution as a so-called custom indicator. So you can provide your own indicator and say, this is something malicious. Or you can even say and override the default behavior, this is something that is good. So if you have a program in your environment and you normally would do an exception based on the name, like super.exe, this is very unsafe because every Trojan could mimic it, rename itself, and be like, I'm super.exe, and the antivirus engine would ignore it. With indicators of compromise, you could use a file hash to do a positive exclusion, or if you see something that is not yet detected by Microsoft, but you want it to be blocked, you can use this as well. And this is exactly what we are going to do today. So we are using the information from the Feodo tracker, the IP addresses, and add those to the indicators of compromise list. This will result in an additional feature that you have to activate, but it's really great, and this is network protection. Network protection is used by the Windows platform, and based on those indicators and indicators provided by Microsoft, network connections are blocked before they are really made. So down on a TCP level stack view, you would see something like a SYN-ACK, and those connections are made in a way, but as soon as this initial connection is made, no additional information can be transferred to the malicious actor. So they are really blocked in a way that no data can leave your clients to this IP address that you have defined as an indicator of compromise. This also allows you to extend your corporate firewall in a sense, because if you have your corporate users at home, they are in their home Wi-Fi, working from home, stuff like that, they are not protected like they would be behind a corporate firewall. And with that, you have additional protection, because even if they reach out to something that your high-priced firewall on-prem would block, now they are at home, it wouldn't be blocked. Maybe you are forcing them through VPN, but maybe you are doing split tunnel to lower the load of your network. And if you're doing split tunnel, this is a really, really great solution, because they are still blocked regardless of where the client is, regardless of what they are doing, if they're using VPN or not.
Does that work on all clients at the same time, or is it sort of, when it's triggered, does it apply to all devices?
Yes. So the indicators of compromise, they are applied through, if you are not changing the default for all clients, but you can choose to only apply them to device groups. So say, okay, I only want those for my servers, or only for my Windows clients, stuff like that you could do.
Cool.
Okay, enough with the PowerPoint slides. Let me hop over to the demo and start there. So this is the security Microsoft.com portal. As you might know, if you are working with Microsoft solutions, there are very much portals, and Microsoft is currently trying to implement most of their security portals into this one. So it should be good to go for the next few years. If you learn what to do here, it will be a investment in the future, foreseeable future. As you can see, there are different tabs over here, and what I have down here is my endpoints. As you can see, it's a very small environment. It's just one client, or two, but only one is active. And there you have the vulnerability management and stuff like that. But what we are interested in at the moment is we want to query information from the client. So let me just pull up the client here and go into the timeline. The timeline is everything that happens on this device, starting from the newest event, and then you can make your way down. It's a little bit slow to load, but as soon as, yeah, perfect. Now we see something. And now you have the event time, the event, and additional information. Let me try to, yeah. You have the user that is initiating this action, and also you have additional information, like in this case, the process tree of the MS Edge browser. So here you can see Microsoft Edge has established an outbound connection to this IP address, and with the common port 443, so normal HTTPS. And if I click on this event, I can get more information, and everything that is shown here is more or less also here, but in a bit of a different view. Here you have the process tree. This is really important if you have a look at why is a process connecting somewhere, which process has created it, because this lets you see if it's maybe malicious or not, because in this case we have the Explorer, so the normal desktop. so to speak. And from there, the MS Edge browser was launched. We also see the path where this exe is located, and as all modern web browsers do, they spawn additional child processes to do sandboxing and stuff, and one of these processes connects to this IP address. So this is all really great, but you don't want to do this by hand on like 2,000 clients or 10,000 clients. And that you don't have to do that, Microsoft has implemented a feature called advanced hunting. There is sometimes in the portal a little button called Hunt for Related Events. And if I would click that, it will take me to the advanced hunting part of the product. And there you will see the query that was created by Microsoft based on where you were and what they wanted to do you next. If I run this query, we can see, let me put it down, we have now all those events that we saw earlier, but in a little bit different view. And I could now go in here and manipulate this information. The query language that is used here is called KQL, or Custo Query Language. And it's a little bit similar to what you might be used from SQL, but I find it much easier to work with. And Microsoft has implemented a really great autocomplete and stuff like that. So it's really easy to get started here. They also provide, if you start this completely from scratch, with some initial queries you can use and you can try out. And down here you can see some getting started tips and stuff like that. The most important part for those queries are the tables. And on the left side, we have the schema of this product and the tables that are related to the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint suite. And down here, we have different tables related to the device. And one of those is called device network info, and the other one is device network events. If I expand this view, I also can see which different columns are in those tables. So if I now want to work with one, I can use this information here, or I can click those three buttons, say view reference, and get additional information like what is a timestamp, what is the device ID, and stuff like that explained. And this is the most current documentation of those columns. So if you will look up this in the Microsoft documentation, docsmicrosoft.com, they are really great, but sometimes they send you back here and say, look that up in the schema, because they are working on this, and sometimes the documentation lags a little bit behind in docsmicrosoft.com, but not here. This is always up to date.
Fabian, hearing you describe those as tables has made it much more clear to me. I've tried to do this in the past and it just hadn't clicked that those were it was just a database and those were tables within the database.
Yeah, I think everybody who has created Custo would hit me for that, because there's much more behind that. But from a user standpoint, it's like I'm using a table. I can query that table. I can use those as columns. And for me, it was much easier to get my head around that in this words.
Yeah, great.
So let's see. When I want to use the device network events, table, and I don't want the last 7 days of network events. I just want the last 10 events. I can say device network events, next line, and then I put the the pipe and limit 10. And this will result in exactly 10 rows of information. And here you can see we have stuff like connection success, remote IP, remote port, and stuff like that. So this is really great, because what we have seen before on the slide of the Feodo tracker, and what I can show you on their website as well, is that they track those by IP address. So if I know this is a malicious IP address and I want to alert on those this IP address, I can just go in here and say where remote IP equals and put in the IP address. So hopefully my device is not connected to this C2 instance, so I got no results in this. No results here. Perfect. Now I could go back and try that out for everyone here, but this is not feasible, because this, yeah, as you might have guessed, I can execute this command once, and then, yeah, well, then the next hour maybe it will connect, and then we have a problem there. So first of all, one important thing I didn't say before: when I execute this query, it's because I didn't restrict it in any other way. It checks this for every client. So if you have 10,000 clients in here, then you would check all 10,000 clients within this time frame. You can change the time frame here, and 30 days is the maximum for custom queries, advanced hunting queries here. Microsoft is not storing the data longer than that for you. But this query, regardless if you have 10 or 10,000 clients, works just fine. It's really fast, and it will show you if any of your clients have connected to this IP address. So the next step would be to add additional information, and there we can use the block list that is provided by the Feodo tracker project. They have different block lists you can use. There's one, it contains all the information of the last 30 days, all C2 servers of the last 30 days. And let's just look at the, at the JSON. There's all the information you saw earlier on the web page, now in a computer readable way.
Could you zoom on the?
Oh, sure. Sorry,
it's very small.
I forgot that. Yeah. So we have the IP address. We have stuff like port. We have the information which malware it is, and so this is all here. But now you have to get it into your query. And the easiest method to do that is not to use the JSON. This is more advanced, but to use CSV. And because of the format of those CSVs with multiple lines in front of those, I will use the so-called recommended IP block list. It only includes information about the C2 servers that have been active in the last hour, and this makes it easier for you to prevent false positives. So now you ask, okay, how can I import this file here or stuff like that? And this is where the advanced hunting query language Custo is really amazing. You can use the command for external table and now say, okay, I got something that's called remote IP in here, and it's from the type string. And now I have to look up my own query. Just a second. And yeah, so it's not curly brackets, but it's here. And now I can say I want to use this information from this external provider. If I just execute this part, I get an error because I forgot something. I have to say with format, something wrong here, external data is, sorry. And then with format equals, and then we say CSV. And just like that, we have the CSV data within our advanced hunting query. So now you can see we have a long list of IP addresses that we now can reference against our own clients and the remote IPs that our clients have accessed. Also, you can see there is stuff like the comments in here. This is not really a bad thing because there won't be anything in the remote IP column that will be something like hashtag abuse.ch. So there will be no match for that. So we can ignore that. And sadly, this is a limitation of the Custo query language. We cannot say something like ignore lines starting with hashtag or ignore the first 10 lines. We could ignore the first line, but that's all we get. So now that we have this data here, we can put it in a variable, and just to use the same as in the blog post, I say let, and this creates something of a variable or a temporary table, as you might call it, and puts all this information that we have in external data in this temporary table. Because we want to do more than one line with one query, we have to close with a semicolon. And the next thing is that we don't want to compare the remote IP with against only one IP address, but we can use the in and then just say the complete list. So what I did here is we are comparing if the column remote IP has a value that is within this list. So should any of my clients has connected to any of those IP addresses, I would get a hit. This is great because now I can query all the information from the Feodo tracker project against all my clients, but one last part is missing, and that is I have to do it manually. Each time run it, check it, okay, nothing happened. And to mitigate that, we can use now something called a detection rule. So we have a working Custo query here, and this will be the base of our detection rule. Let's create one. We have to define a name. The name is something that is more internally, so you can choose whatever you want here. frequency, you can execute it every hour, every 3 hours, every 12 hours, or every 24 hours. Because the list is generated or includes all C2 servers from which in the last hour, I would recommend use every hour. The alert title is something that your analyst will later see. So this will be the visible alert title and should be somehow descriptive. Let me be lazy here. Now you can select the severity, and maybe you don't want to have a high severity on this one, but only medium or even just low. Or because you're saying, okay, this is not good, let's do a severity of high, and my analyst should prioritize this immediately. Now I can say, what is it? Is it malware or is it initial access? And all this information is based on the MITRE framework. I will not get into that too much, but let's say, okay, we are seeing some malware stuff here. Our description is there might be some Trojan on this machine. Run antivirus, full antivirus check, and speak with the owner. Something like that. You can put information in here as much as you want, and that is also something that is later presented to your SOC analyst, and he can use it to do his work. Now, what we have here is we can say we do a mapping between which device was affected and which device should be presented. In this case, we just use the device ID, because if there is a result out of this query, there will be a field called device ID, and this we are going to use to map it exactly to the device that is affected. So this also makes it easier for the analyst, because he just can click on the device, get to the device page like here, and see if there's anything wrong here. And then we can also put in information about the user. In this case, we say the initiating process account UPN. So every network connection is initiated by some process, and this process has an owner, a user, and in this case, maybe it will be me, or it will be system. Then there will be no mapping, but we are using the account UPN. And if I created the process, so I click the malware and it connected, then I will also be shown to the analyst as affected user. And now comes the great part, because it's not only alerting, it's also doing something. We can do actions. So we can say, isolate this device fully. What that means is that Microsoft will put in like an additional firewall that blocks all communication from this device to mostly everything else in your network. The only exception will be if you select full, the connection back to the Microsoft Defender endpoint servers at Microsoft, so you can remove the isolation as well. Selective is a bit more less restrictive. It allows the user to use Outlook, Teams, and Skype. So this can be good, because you still can call the owner of the device if you are only using Teams for calling and have no normal phones on your desk or stuff like that, or you can send them an email. But if you want to be sure, full isolation is the way to go. The next thing would be, okay, collect an investigation package. Now we are getting all the files and bits of information from this device uploaded to the portal, and an analyst can then look into this information more closely and maybe even extract some of the malware information, create some kind of signature and use it to block this on other devices as well. What we want to do is run an antivirus scan, initiate an investigation. This will help the analyst as well, because it extracts additional information. Where did it contact the minutes before this happened, where the minutes after, and stuff like that. And you also could restrict the app execution. So if you tick that, only Microsoft signed programs will start after that. So if the program already runs, it won't be blocked because it's already running, but everything else that is trying to start after that has to be signed by Microsoft. So this would be the full coverage of actions you could do. In this case, let me just dial it down a bit. No isolation in this case, and everything else but the app execution. Also, I can use this to mark the user as compromised. So that's something that can be used in the Azure AD, because if it's compromised, maybe I want to force them to reset their password or stuff like that. Yeah, normal end of a wizard. I get presented with all the information and then can click submit to add it to my list of custom detections. Those you will find on the left side, hunting, custom detection rules. And there we have the Cloud Community demo I just created. And there you will see last run, next run. And if you want to force a run, you can do this as well. Just click over here and it will start. And we already got some alert here. So, oh, my device has been triggered. Why, you can see down here in the query results. So we had some connection made to this server, and based on this, now it's getting started with an investigation. The antivirus scan is running on my device, and it's collecting the investigation package. All this I also see here in the incident view, where I can now see, okay, a new incident has been created with this alert. And there I have the impacted device and the impacted user. So all this is a bit of alerting and acting after the fact. So the malware already has connected. And to do something a bit more proactive, we can use the custom indicators. Custom indicators are configured in the settings, endpoint, indicators, and there you have 4 types. You have file hashes, IP addresses, URLs and domains, and certificates. You can have a total of 15,000 custom indicators, and as you will see in a minute, currently I have defined 1. I have defined this one in advance just because the mechanism takes about 30 to 40 minutes to propagate the custom indicators to every client. And since we are in a bit of a schedule here, I wanted to show you how that works a bit faster. So what you can do here is you can import custom indicators. You can download some sample CSV file and then upload this sample CSV file and be done with it. But also not an option for us. We want this totally automated. And in how I'm in time, just to know.
You have as long as you want, but around about 15 minutes.
Okay. So what I have created here is other part, and for that you will need some kind of subscription in Azure because I'm using Azure Automation for that. And with the last blog post I published, this was mainly manual process to do, but for you guys, I did some rework of that, and let me switch it. I created something. Here there should be icons. I will add them later, and that is called Deploy to Azure. So you just click this icon, or if you have different browser sessions, you copy the link, and as you will see here, it will deploy a template from my server. So if you don't trust me, download the template, inspect it, look at it, no problem. It is also linked in the blog article. And what you have here now is information you have to put in to create this automation. Firstly, you have to select your resource group. Let me just create a new one for today. Okay. Then you can select the region. I will use West Europe, but you can select UK or whatever you like. Then you have to specify the automation account name. In this case, I just calling it demo AA. And now we need two parts of information that we don't have yet. We need an application ID and an application secret. I will not go in too much depth what that is, but basically what we need is a username and a password. And to have this, we go in the Azure Active Directory, app registration, and create a new one. And this is called Cloud Community Demo. Everything else you can just let it be as it is. Now we have to add some API permissions. So our application and automation can later on add custom indicators itself. And this is a little bit tricky. You have to say add a permission. Then you cannot select anything here, but you have to click to APIs my organization uses. And because of the steadily renaming of the products, you have to type in Windows Defender ATP. So there it is, still the old name, Windows Defender ATP, not Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or stuff like that, but still the old name. And then you will have to select application permissions, and then you are provided with a list of permissions you can select. What we need is the TI short for custom indicators. And there are different ones you can use. So there's read all, read write, and read write all. I recommend that you use read write because if you use that, your application only can change custom indicators that it has created, and it cannot override anything else. After that, you will have to give admin consent for this application. To be able to do that, you have to be some of the global admin, privilege role admin, cloud application admin, or application admin, I think. So you have to have a respective role within the Azure Active Directory to be allowed to grant this consent for the whole organization. After we did that, we now have to create a secret. And there's a description. I will call it demo. I will say we start today, and just because I won't need it after today, restrict it in the time, and then create it. And important, this is the secret value. You will need it only once, and you will see it only once. So if you refresh your page here, or you go something, okay, they did a bit of change here, but if you come back later and you want to see it, you won't see the secret. So you will have to create a new one and add it there. And now what you also need is the application ID.
Do you mind just zooming in a little bit for me?
Sorry, a bit larger?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
that's
perfect.
Great.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you will need the application ID, and then you just pop it in over here. Everything else you will not have to change, and I would then recommend to change it. Tenant ID, location, and stuff like that is all variables that are used from what you selected here or in which tenant you are creating it. So you don't need to change it. So let's click on review and create. And if everything is going fine, we see a validation pass. So our template that we want to deploy is not damaged. And last but not least, I now deploy the resources. You will see in a few seconds different resources appearing here. And oh, that was fast. Now we have everything created. So what has happened? We have an automation account. We have a variable. We have a scheduler. And we have the runbook and something with a weird ID. This is just the connection between the runbook and the scheduler. Not very clear if you look at it in here and you're not very familiar with it, but I hop over in the resource group, and then it will be a little bit more clear. We have the automation account and the runbook. And if I go into the automation account, on the left side, you will find something called variables, and there will be a variable called app secret, and it is the type encrypted. We cannot see the value, so same thing here. We have now a secure value, and only the runbooks can access it. The runbook itself is connected to a scheduler, and the scheduler is set to 1 hour. And this means...
We do have a question on that, actually, just as you mentioned the time.
Yes.
Kay says it's a shame custom detections aren't real time rather than once per hour.
Custom detections. So everything we have in the detection rules is once an hour at the minimum. Yeah. We cannot get it faster. But as soon as a custom indicator is deployed, it's real time.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
So
and then also they go on to say it would be nice if all safe link usage was logged as well.
Sorry?
It would be nice if all safe link usage was logged as well, i.e. from a mobile phone, because device events need the device to be ATP onboarded.
So I know that the smart screen technology is working, but on a mobile device as like iPhone and Android, I'm not quite sure.
Cool.
So
Thanks for the question.
okay, I just see it. Yeah. So we have the scheduler here, and because we don't want to wait, we just will start it in a. But before we do that, let's just hit view, and I will skim over the code. The beginning is just connection to the API endpoint from Microsoft. So we are connecting to the API Security Center using the application ID and the app secret here. And to do that, we are connecting then to the login windows.net and receiving a so-called bearer token. And this we will use for the actions that we are using later on. In the next region, we download the block list. In this case, I'm using the JSON block list because in PowerShell, I have much more possibilities to manipulate the data in there. The next thing is that I only retrieve C2 servers from this block list that are marked as online. Then I define an expiration time. This is important because I don't want to import any IP addresses for infinity into your custom indicators, but only for 2 hours. So as soon as I put in a custom indicator here, and I do not restrict it, I put not an expire time on here, it will stay in there forever. And since IP addresses in the internet are very fluently and they change and the servers behind those change, we don't want the IP addresses too long in there if they are not longer an active threat to us. After that, we then have a region here that is creating the indicator of compromise information. So everything you see here, like indicator value is the IP address, indicator type is IP address, action is alert and block. All this information is the same as in the GUI over in the portal over here. So here we have the block execution and generate alert. We have the IP address for this IOC. We have a title, we have severity, we have a category, we have a description, we have recommended actions, and all this is also filled in here with the information from the JSON. And the last part is that out of this list of indicators, one big JSON is created, and we then use the API endpoint, it's the API endpoint import to import all those indicators at once. We don't do it on an indicator by indicator way because the rate limit on this API is 30 calls per minute. And if we have like 500 or 300 indicators of compromise, it would take too long to upload each indicator as one. So the import is the best one because we can just import like 3,000 indicator of compromises at once and are done with just one REST call here. After that is just a little bit of checking, okay, has it worked? Were all the indicators imported correctly? And that's all. I know this is very fast, but if you want to go into depth, look at the blog post, look at the script, and if you have any questions, just ping me on that. But for this today I will let it be and just show you what it does in the background, and will show you how it works on the endpoint as well. So I will start the runbook by myself. And if you do that, you will have to provide the application ID and tenant ID manually. And this is all information you will find within the application you created. So we have the application ID, and down here in the directory, tenant ID. And that's all you have to provide. So you don't need the secret. The secret is in an encrypted variable where we have seen it, and it will get extracted in runtime and only used there. So let's see if everything works as expected. So what happens now is that our automation job is sent to Microsoft, and they are using hundreds of thousands of servers and executing our automation code on one of those instances. And as soon as we have any output here, perfect, we already have, we will see some output that it says successfully imported indicator, and then the indicator IP address, and the status is complete. This is exactly what we want. So everything seems to work as expected. We have a list of indicators, everything IP addresses. And if we now switch over, the portal will reload automatically. And you can see there are many new indicator of compromises in the list. It has not updated here yet, so let me just refresh to also update this as well. And now we have 258. There was already one in there, so 257 were imported in, like, what did it say here? A few seconds, I think. Yeah, like 30 seconds exactly. And now this information is sent down to the clients. And this process sadly takes about 30 minutes and sometimes can take up to 50 minutes. In my tests, I had seen like 50 minutes delay here. What you also will see is created by, and this will be the name of your application. So choose wisely because it will be seen by anyone who can see the custom indicator list, and they will be created by whatever you type in here. Otherwise, there will be the expires on information. So this one will expire today, but 2 hours in the future. Microsoft is not showing the hours. I don't know why, but it's working as expected. Then we have the response action, and it is set to block execution and generate an alert. And the alert that is generated is alert title, whatever. Severity is high. We have suspicious activity, and also there's additional information from the JSON we downloaded from the video project. So what malware type is used, when was this C2 server seen the first time, when was it the last time online, and which TCP port was used on this or is used for this C2 server. So it's not only 443 or 80, but sometimes it's 9767 or stuff like that. And this information can be important for your analyst, because maybe somebody is visiting a normal website, but the server behind this website has been compromised and the C2 server is operating on a different port. So if your user is connecting to 443, but the C2 server is on 9767, then there might be no problem. It's just somebody who wanted to visit the website. But if the port also matches, then there might be a problem and you should even look closer. So now we have this information here. Let's use this and my indicator I created manually beforehand to show you how the network protection part is working. For that, I'm switching over to another machine. The important thing first, you will have to activate the network protection feature. So you can do this either through Intune, you can do this through group policies, and if it is enabled, the enable network protection is set to 1. If it is disabled, the value will be 0, and if you have it in audit mode, so audit means exactly that, it will not block anything, but you will get information within the Defender for Endpoint portal and can check the information. So if you want to see if there may be any problems before you roll out this feature, set it to audit for a week, and then check if there's anything in the portal that might be related to network protection. All those other settings up here are only necessary if you are using Windows Server 2016 or Windows Server 2012 R2. If you are using Windows 10 or Windows Server 2019, then only this setting down here is relevant. The agent that allows you to use network protection on down-level systems like 2016 and 2012 R2 is still in preview, but I would recommend it because it's really good. And okay, we have a question here. So for what do you understand? Your site is a non-profit project. So the Feodo project is not my site, so I'm just using it. But yes, they are. Abuse.ch is a non-profit organization, but I'm not related in any way to them. I'm just using the awesome data that it provides.
The rest of the question there is...
Yes, and so how can this be officially integrated into a company infrastructure? So this is something you have to check out with your, within your infrastructure and within your security team. So what I want to show you here is a use case on how you can use information that is not directly within Microsoft Defender, but from other sources. So maybe you have some official partner and that you trust and that is providing some feed as a JSON or a CSV file that you can use to do the same thing. Then this would be a great example, and you can just adapt the scripts I'm using here and adapt the methodology for your company. But in some of my customers, they are willing to use information from this nonprofit and say that's totally fine because they are providing it under a license that we can use, and we want the additional protection for our users. Okay, I hope this answers the question. Yeah, so if you have enabled it on the client, and I recommend it totally to do that, regardless if you are using my solution or any other custom indicator solution or stuff like that. Enable it to be protected against not only stuff that happens in supported browsers, because like Edge browser has smart screen and stuff like that that protects your users, but network protection is one level deeper. It's on the operating system level. So regardless of what tool I use, regardless of which browser I use, if I want to access the site that I have blocked or that is blocked through Microsoft, I cannot do it. So here I'm using the invoke web request and try to access the site that I blocked. So let's just compare the information here. So the IP address 89 and last octet 97, and this is the exact one here. And if I do invoke web request, I get an error like 403 forbidden, and the user gets an alert. This content is blocked. For your protection, your administrator is not allowing you to access content from this IP address. And this is regardless of how I want to access this. So this IP address that I used is the icar.org website. And now I want to try access it within a browser. And as you can see, it's a bit of a different error message that the user is getting because it's coming from Smart Screen. But this shows you how the custom indicator implements in all the protection features that Microsoft has. So we have network protection to protect every application there is on your user's device. We have Smart Screen within the browser and a bit more information for the user, not really. But even if I now would use any other browser, I don't have any other browser at the moment, I would not be able to connect to this website or anything related to this IP address. It will be blocked immediately. And on the other hand, I will get an alert as within the incident and alerts. Most likely it will be not a new alert because Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is smart enough to put together multiple alerts on one machine into one incident. And so let's see if we have any. It's not yet popped up here, but we will get some information soon. Okay, it created a new incident. Haha. And yeah, so now we have this here and is our demo alert. And in this case, if I check out the alert, I will see, okay, there was a connect, or someone tried to make a connection to something that is an IOC. So here's the information I put in the alert description. And all this information now triggers some response, investigation, whatever I have configured. And in this case, it shows me, okay, PowerShell.exe tried to connect to this IP address. And now I can dig in deeper and check out why was that the case, did the user do something, stuff like that. And for that, I can use the device. And this is why it's important to map all this information in the alerts to have immediate access to this information here and not to send your analysts down the road and try to figure out which user did that and where is this user or which device is it. So it's just one click and I'm going to the device tab. There I can see, okay, risk level is medium at the moment because there are 2 active alerts. And within the timeline, I now have multiple alerts. And I just can click on them as well and go to that information. So in this case, I can see MS Edge established outbound connection to this IP address and PowerShell. So both of my connection attempts are now visible within the Defender for Endpoint portal. So this is the end of my demo, and now it's time for questions. if you have any more. Or if you
Yeah,
want
sure.
to
Thank you.
anything else.
Thank you so much for that. What does the scan me thing do? Just before we invite people to scan things.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's just the link also provided below to the blog post, so you can do this and check out the information if you want to.
Yeah. Awesome. Really good. Thank you so much for that. I had a question actually, but I was waiting till the end. So this all obviously looks really useful. And I kind of imagine that this information will be really valuable to an organization like Radu was saying. So these specific IP addresses, is there anything natively that does something similar within Defender for Endpoint?
Yes, of
Without
course.
needing to do this
Microsoft is
advanced
also
sensing?
actively tracking servers and malicious IP addresses all over the world, and they are using the smart screen technology in the browser to protect you from malicious URLs and stuff like that. So this is just if you want additional information, but most of this information you have here is also within the product, and Microsoft is providing it out of the box for you. So this is just showing you how you can add additional information. So in Germany, there is a department from the state, it's called BSI, and they provide custom indicators for companies. And so this would be one way to integrate this information, as this would be a company related thing. But of course, Microsoft tracks the bad actors as well, so you are not needed to do that, but sometimes there's information that is not already in the platform, so it can help.
Yep, cool. Thank you very much.
So, I've got a question, Fabian. On your website, you've got some content relating to this. Is there anything you want to kind of just highlight from that if anyone else wants to see some extra stuff on this topic?
So yeah, just check out the blog post. I think most of what I told you is in depth in there as well. And there's also one additional goodie, a new version of the alerting I just created today. I did not show because the query is very advanced. As for new custo beginners, it's a bit hard to understand because we are dealing with the JSON import, but just look at it, see if you can get your way around the information I provided there. And if you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter or anywhere else on my contact details if you have questions for that.
Great. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so over to the quiz. Thank you, Fabian, for joining us. Will you stick around for the quiz?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Sure.
Awesome. So here is our quiz for this evening. So if you're new to this, go to menti.com on your computer, hopefully not on the tab you're using to watch this, and type in that code, or you can use your phone and use the website there. Type in that code 80718798. As I mentioned at the start, we are running on a longer latency to increase the quality of the screen there. I was checking it out on YouTube as well while Fabian was talking, and the screen did seem pretty clear, much better than some of the previous events we've had, so I think that has worked, so we'll probably keep with that in the future. I've probably talked for about 30 seconds now, and one person has popped up, so the latency there is about 30 seconds, I'm guessing. So yeah, all good. We've got some good questions here from Fabian related to the talk, so hopefully you've been listening and watching. We'll see. And we did make a decision in the meantime around the prize. So what we're going to do for the quiz prize is, if you win, and you're the sole winner, if there is one winner, which is unlikely, I'll admit, then the prize will be £25, and that will be an Amazon gift voucher or any other gift voucher that we can give remotely. If there is a tie, if there's more than one winner, then we will have a pot of money, which is £40, and we'll split that between all of the winners as equally as we can. So that's what we're going to do, to try and limit our costs and keep ourselves going and stay afloat, because it could get incredibly expensive if we carry on paying out the full amount to everyone every time they win. So we have 3 people in the quiz. This could be interesting if all 3 win, but got a few more watching on YouTube though, according to the stats. So I'll give it a few more seconds. Don't want to lose anyone. As I said, the latency is a little bit longer, so when I press go, it will stop people joining. But yeah, they may have only seen the screen for a few seconds. So give that a few minutes, a few seconds longer. Simon, Andy, anything from you before we start the quiz?
Just another quick question, actually, Fabian. So, if people are wanting to start out in this kind of area of technology, is there some quick guidance you can give them? Or is that not possible?
No, of course it's possible. And there's very much information out there. The community is very helpful. And I think meetings like this is a good starting point. Also, check out on the Twitters. There are many people who publish information there that is very useful. And also the Microsoft documentation, it's really, really great, getting really better every year. So check it out as well. And all of this information and products, you can get demos for 30 days from Microsoft. You can create a tenant for this reason and just try out. Or if you have the luxury to do this demo within your company, check it out if it's possible. And for 30 days, it's completely free of cost.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So without further ado, let's go on the quiz. So 3 people. Let's see how we go. All questions give max points. We aren't doing any timing here. Which query language is used in advanced hunting? Is that SQL, KQL, or PowerShell? I have a feeling we're going to have 3 winners. So I've put a 60-second timer on there as well. So we'll see one person's answered already, and that was within 10 seconds by the looks of it. And then no more answers yet. Another one after 25 seconds. That's interesting. Waiting for one more answer, and that will give us an idea of the spread of delay. There you go. So everyone's voted. That was 35 seconds. It is KQL. Congratulations, everyone. No prizes for guessing what the leaderboard will look like. It will be everyone's in the lead. Congratulations, Radu and Croc and Chris joining us. I mean, Chris is going to lose. That's just how it's going to go, really. Sorry, Chris. Okay, next up, we have another question, which is... all questions give max points. How many custom indicators are possible within the solution demoed today? So is that 1,500, 15,000, or 150,000? I put some backing music on this one, actually. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of future pop, according to Restream. That's what we're listening
Provided by Next, was it? Or
other stores are available. So future pop. It's all royalty-free music, as you can imagine. Keeps us all online. But yeah, future pop. This is a premium track. We've got some pretty good ones. Okay, all people voted. We have 15,000 as the correct answer. Congratulations to I have pressed. It's not going. To oh dear, Chris. Oh dear.
You're disappointed now, aren't you?
Yeah, he promised me he'd lose. I'm joking. There's no rigging going on here. He hasn't promised anything at all. All questions give max points. Let's go to the next question. 3 out of 7. So name one malware C2 server type that is tracked by the Feodo Tracker project. Cobalt Strike, Agent Tesla, Emotet, and Kali. Which of those do you think is a server type tracked by the Feodo Tracker project? There's, I think, pretty much 80% of the words on the screen there I do not understand.
No. Apart from the word Tesla.
Yeah, I got Tesla. Yeah, and Kali. I was playing with Kali today, actually, and a long time last night. I was trying to do some fishing. It didn't work at all. If you're trying to set up Kali Linux and doing some fishing stuff, congratulations to everyone apart from Chris there, I assume. Chris has obviously got that wrong. Maybe. Let's see. Oh, no. Well done, Radu. So, if you're trying to do fishing stuff in Linux, some of the cool stuff like Black Eye and the other stuff you can get on GitHub, it doesn't work in the Windows subsystem for Linux at all. Don't spend 8 hours of your day trying to get it working in WSL because it doesn't work. Just spin up Kali in a VM and it'll be fine. So congratulations to Chris for being in the lead. Question 4. On which scope does the network protection feature work? Is it only in Edge, only in Microsoft 365, only in Microsoft 365 and Edge, on all browsers, or is it system-wide? So I was successful in getting some kind of phishing attack to work on my, for educational purposes only, demo earlier on. So that was good. Just took 8 hours of my life.
Yeah. It won't be revisiting, I'll take it.
No, I think I will. I was setting it up to prove that Defender for Endpoint was doing some things. And it did do some things. So, someone got that wrong. 2 got it right. Let's have a look at who. Oh dear. Chris is in the lead.
This is getting painful.
It's a bit worrying. I'm sure the other two, Croc and Radu, can share the prize. Come on, guys. What is the smallest frequency for a custom detection rule? Is it 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 hertz? And there was some discussion in chat about this earlier on, so we're probably going to lose everyone there. But obviously, 1 hertz is a play on words with the frequency thing. I thought I'd throw that in there.
I was going to say, yeah.
Time.
Very clever. I think we're all surprised.
Everyone's voted. Okay, someone went for 1 minute, but the answer was 1 hour. So let's see what that's done to the leaderboard. Radu, unfortunately, and that no, it was looking okay for a second there. Right, we are on the penultimate question. On what date did this channel, which was Get Modern back then, release its first video?
Oh, no, that is a question.
25th of February, 25th of March, or the 25th of April 21?
That's a toughie even for me.
I had to look it up.
I think I know the answer there.
I think 2 people might be Googling it right now. Because you've got 60 seconds, you might as well. So Fabian, how often do you do these kind of custom detection rules in your job with your customers and your clients?
Custom detection rules, it's very common because you have really great detail and possibilities to query information. So I did one other blog on how to detect changes to like groups like domain controllers and stuff like that, and domain admins. And this is something that most customers really want to see. Okay, if anything in this particular group happens or stuff like that. So the advanced queries and custom detections, I do it very regularly for customers that are using Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or other products out of the suite like Defender for Identity.
Sure. Okay, we have a tie for now. My heart has stopped pounding. Let's see how the final question goes. Good luck, everyone.
We need a drum roll.
Me too. What was the name of our first sponsor? Is that Recast Software, Zimperium, or Policy Pack?
Good question.
Someone has very low latency on this stream, and someone has very high latency. So one person answered within 10 seconds, and then the others answer within like 5 or 6 seconds to go. So I think fastest finger first was perhaps a little bit unfair in the past. So apologies to everyone who was unfairly all losing. It's impossible to know, really. Unless you just sat there trying to work it out.
I think Chris is going to know the answer to this one.
Yeah, perhaps.
I think
I didn't expect Chris to be in the lead at any point through any of these, though. So that's ooh.
Ooh.
Wow. So yes, Policy Pack was our first sponsor. They sponsored one event, our first event. And was it our first event? I think it might be our first event. And it was a few in, wasn't it? Yeah, we were discussing with them. But yeah, Zimperium, sponsored our first event.
I did, yeah.
One of our first events. So let's take a look at how that has affected the. Oh no, it's a tie between Croc and Chris Marshall. Congratulations. I know who Chris Marshall is, unfortunately, but Croc, I'm not sure who you are, so if you could identify yourself either on Twitter, my handle is on the screen there, or any of the others on the screen there, reach out to us and we will ensure that you get your prize.
Yeah, well done.
This was actually our longest stream for a while, so thank you to everyone for hanging in there. Thanks for Fabian for giving an awesome talk. That was brilliant. This is going to be left online, forever, so you can catch up and go through it. I will be adding in the chapters there, so you can skip back to the bits that you might have missed if you did catch us right at the end. For now, thanks to everyone for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.